It was the month of January, and I had just got done with all my exams at college. I'm 21, and being in a long-distance relationship, I hadn't seen my boyfriend in over 3 months. Since I had some free time, my boyfriend and I planned this getaway trip to the mountains, as it was the prime time to experience the snow. Although this meant that I would have to fly out to his city, I've never been there before, so I was a little skeptical at first, but this trip had to be kept a secret from my brown parents, not approving of me having a boyfriend, let alone traveling with him. But we were together for 5 years, so I was determined to go. All of my friends knew about the trip and had all the required details. Fast forward to the day of my flight. I was seated in the window seat, next to a fairly older guy, probably in his late 30s. I was on my phone, and so was he. He was texting someone back and forth, and I remember thinking how annoying his phone's notification ring was. He gave me a very weird vibe the moment he sat next to me, but I shrugged it off, as I thought I was just being prejudiced against him. As the flight took off, I noticed no one occupied the aisle seat beside him, and I wondered why he was not moving up there. Because 1, naturally anyone, whether me or him, would like some privacy. 2, men usually shift or make space for a woman in our country in a public setting. The man was glued to the seat, and I could feel his eyes on me when I was looking out the window. Some time passed by, and he started making small talk and questioning me. Where are you from? Do you stay in the city you're flying to? How old are you? Is your friend coming to pick you up from the airport? I could feel the creepy vibes oozing from his sinister face, and I knew I had to be smart enough to not tell him my personal information. I lied to him and told him that I indeed lived in the city that I was flying to, so there couldn't be any chance of him trying to mislead me. I avoided him and did not pull my eyes off my phone for a long time. He tried to put up this nice guy act and started telling me about his job and travel plans for the upcoming weekend. I wasn't even responding to him at this point. I could in some way physically feel him coming closer to me. I was a little freaked out, but I thought I could handle this for another 20 minutes before the flight lands. At this point, the overhead lights are dimmed as it was night, and at the exact time, I swear the creep grinned and relaxed, before staring down at me like we were in love or some shit. I just backed up to the window and started clicking photos of the view from the flight. This is when the creep says, "You're so cute. Can I have your number?" I was frozen. He was inches away from my face. "No, that's weird," I replied, not being too angry about it, considering he could be a psycho killer. "Give me your Instagram then." At this point, I was sure this dude would not stop at this. "No, I have a boyfriend. Stop," I said sternly. The creep stared at me without blinking, then put on the mask of a nice guy again and offered me a bottle of water. I was glad the flight attendant announced that we were about to land. I would finally be away from him. This is when he started to extend his hand towards me and whispered, "Can I hold your hand?" I was scared because I thought this guy was definitely going to touch me. "What? No. Are you mad?" I managed to scream. He just gave me this blank look and said, "Why?" I kept quiet and was internally praying for him to leave me the fuck alone. The flight eventually landed, and I hurried to get out of there with my stuff. I turned back a few times, and I could see that he was pointing towards me with his friends smiling and staring at me. I quickened my pace towards the baggage claim, and so did him and his friends. I started texting my boyfriend frantically. He told me to stay calm and just get out of the airport as quick as possible without him catching up to me. I picked up my bags and got out of the terminal. I was waiting for my cab and was relieved that I finally made it out. A couple of moments later, I felt someone touch my hair. I turned around and this creep was standing behind me with a crazy smile on his face. My heart was beating so hard I thought it would jump right out of me. "Do you need a ride home? We could take you. Don't hesitate too much." Without saying anything, I picked up my bags and walked up closer to a family with kids and asked if they could accompany me to the parking lot where my Uber was waiting for me. I narrated them the entire ordeal and how the weirdo wouldn't leave me alone. They accompanied me and waited until I was gone. I thanked them profusely. The weirdo kept staring at me with his cold eyes and sunken cheeks as my Uber drove past him. Thankfully, he didn't follow me or anything. I finally reached my boyfriend safely. The trip went smooth. I didn't think about this incident much because it was just a blur now. A few months later, while I was scrolling through my Instagram, a new follow request popped up on my profile. I opened it. My heart was in my mouth. It was the creepy weirdo. He somehow found my Instagram. His text popped up. "Remember me?" I blocked him. I deleted my Instagram and I haven't been back on there since. P.S. My inner voice told me to complain about the weirdo to the flight attendant, but I didn't because I was already running late and I had only an hour to reach the bus stop during the rush hour. I didn't want to waste time at all by explaining the situation and getting consoled by everyone. I wasn't even sure how this thing would pan out if I complained because my country is a little weird about these things. I just wanted to get out of the airport ASAP and reach the bus stop in the next 40 minutes, which was only possible if I could run out of the airport. Although I insist that if you're in a situation like this, try to get to a crowded place and ask for help from someone. Better if they're a group of friends or family. Plus, make sure you research about the city and know where you're going. Tonight, I, a 17-year-old female, finished dinner before my parents even got their food served. I asked if I could go on a walk. We went to Santa Monica for dinner because we're on a trip in LA. I left the restaurant and walked down to Ocean Boulevard. I walked all the way down to the crossroads and everything was fine. The way back to the restaurant was a whole other can of worms. As I walked, a man asked me if I wanted a beer. I turned him down and told him that I didn't drink. But that isn't the end of this encounter. He asked me if I was sure, which I replied yes. After that, surprisingly, he left me alone. I decided to walk on the pathway so I could look out at the black ocean blending with the sky. It was mesmerizing. As I continued walking, I came across a group of about 3 homeless guys. I gave a head nod to be polite, and one of the guys got up. At first, I thought nothing of it, but as I continued, I saw him pursuing me out of the corner of my eye. I walked a little faster, and so did he. I quickly turned to cross the street, and he followed. I speed walked up the street towards the restaurant with him still at my heels. I turned my head to see him maybe 6 feet away, then I ran. I raced through the front doors of a tourist shop and hid there. I texted my family about where I was and they came to pick me up. I know it's rather anticlimactic, but it was easily the scariest moment of my life. I'm so glad I got away from that creepo. A while ago, I was living in an apartment complex in Toms River, New Jersey. I lived in a complex where there were doors facing the street. When you went through the doors, there was a set of stairs going up to the top apartment. To the side of the stairs, there was a small hall leading to the bottom apartment. I lived on the top apartment, and my downstairs neighbor was a woman probably 10 to 20 years older than me. We had a very neighborly relationship, saying hi when passing, chatting for a bit when we would bump into each other, etc. After I had been living there for 3 months, I could tell she had a crush on me because it seemed like she would go out of her way to be outside her apartment when I was. She would get flirty with me. It got to a point where I knew if I left my apartment, I'd bump into her. I'd have to do mental preparation for these encounters and come up with a plan to be able to move on quickly because she would want to talk for long periods of time. Anyway, I was dating someone at the time and made sure to mention this to my neighbor since I thought it would make her back off, but it didn't. Me and my then girlfriend had only started dating shortly after I moved into this complex. So 3 months into our relationship, we decided to finally take our relationship to the next level and have sex for the first time. So we made plans for her to come over, and she would plan to spend the night. I am really cheesy and try to do romantic things, so she was coming over at 10 p.m. that night. I was vacuuming and cleaning at like 8 p.m. Then all of a sudden there's a knock at my door. I see through the peephole that it's my neighbor. I thought maybe she was going to tell me I was being too loud with my cleaning, but I am a pretty considerate neighbor and I didn't think I was being too loud. So I opened the door, she had a smile on her face, and she starts making small talk with me. Things like, "So, I hear you are cleaning up here. You expecting company tonight? Is it your girlfriend? Are you guys going to have sex?" It felt like she was interrogating me and asking me things that she didn't need to know. I told her that I was having company over and that we would keep it down, and that she didn't need to know who was coming over. She responded by saying she felt she should know who was coming over because the noise would impact her. I don't remember how I got her to leave, but I finally did. My girlfriend came over, and we did have sex. Like I said, I'm a considerate neighbor. I keep things down. But there are some things you can't exactly prevent, like the sound of the bed moving as you're doing the deed. Anyway, the next morning my girlfriend had work, so she got ready and I walked her down to her car. I had the day off, so I was going to get some gaming in and reflect on the incredible evening I had had. When I got back to my apartment, there was my neighbor, waiting at my door. She told me that she had heard everything last night, and it had sounded incredible. She did not hold back telling me what she was doing to herself while she was listening to me and my girlfriend. She would go as far as to say things like, "At about 11, I heard this noise. I can only imagine she was doing this to you, or you were doing this to her." And I was very creeped out. I told her that she needed to stop, or else I would have to tell management that she was invading my privacy. Needless to say, my girlfriend and I never did it at my place again unless I knew my neighbor was out of town. I told my girlfriend about it and she was furious, understandably. She even confronted my neighbor, told her it was not okay that she did that, and she was talking to me too much. Since we never did it again at my apartment during the year I lived there, I just had to put up with running into my neighbor and her insisting to have long conversations. I was very happy when I moved to another town. Hello, chill and thrill seekers. Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoy this type of content, please consider subscribing and click that notification bell to be alerted of all future videos.